If you're just joining us, you're watching WION, World is One. Thank you very much for joining us at this hour. This is live from Rome, Italy. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi reaches the Vatican to meet Pope Francis. This is the first meeting of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Pope. The meeting comes ahead of the high-stakes G20 Summit. Prime Minister Modi is also scheduled to meet French President Emmanuel Macron and Indonesian President Widodo. Again, this is live from the Vatican City. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived and is set to meet the Pope for the first time ahead of the G20 Summit. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has reached the Vatican, as you can see there, and is set to meet the Pope in a few minutes. The meeting comes ahead of the high-stakes G20 Summit. Prime Minister Modi is also scheduled to meet French President Emmanuel Macron and Indonesian President Widodo. Let's just listen in to what is going on there.
Si sa che fanno un fasfaglio la roba mia, però sì, mi attacca. Senti una cosa, ma quanto di me sta? Interessati a studiare.
If you're just joining us, you're watching WION, World is One. This is live at the Vatican City, where Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi just arrived at the Vatican to meet Pope Francis. This is their first meeting ever of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Pope Francis. The meeting comes ahead of the high-stakes G20 Summit. Prime Minister Modi is also scheduled to meet French President Emmanuel Macron and Indonesian President Widodo. If you're just joining us, you're watching WION, World is One. This is live from the Vatican City, where Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi just arrived at the Vatican City, or at the Vatican, with his delegation to meet Pope Francis. This is the first time that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is meeting the Pope. And joining us now is our principal diplomatic correspondent, Sidhant Sibol. Thank you very much for joining us, Sibol. Let me just ask you, how significant is this meeting of the Prime Minister and the Pope? Our principal diplomatic correspondent, Sidhant Sibal, has been following this event in Italy, Rome, and he joins us live from Rome. Sidhant Sibal, if you can hear me, how significant is this first time meeting of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Pope?
Very significant meeting of the Prime Minister of India and the Pope in the past as well. Indian Prime Ministers have called on the Pope at the Vatican. Yesterday there was a briefing by the Indian Foreign Secretary Harsh Shringla, and question was asked as to what will be the agenda of the meeting. He said that there is no defined agenda, but both sides will be talking about global issues, issues of interest for both for Vatican and for India. We know this is a historic occasion and there is a lot of excitement back home in India regarding this meeting, and of course it is politically significant as well for states like Kerala and for states like Goa as well. But nonetheless, we will have to wait for 1 hour to get the final details, because The meeting with the Pope will last for 30 minutes. We are still awaiting those visuals of the Prime Minister meeting the Pope, and Vatican is expected to release the pictures. And later on, starting 12:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, there will be the meeting of the Indian Prime Minister with the Secretary of State of Vatican. But if I can tell my viewers, behind me is the Vatican. This is the smallest city-state in the world, but it has huge significance in terms of course, hosting the Pope, but also in terms of millions and millions of Christians coming here annually, and of course, present here on occasions like the Christmas and other occasions. But right now I'm standing in Rome, and behind me is the Vatican. You can't shoot inside the Vatican, but you can stand outside the Vatican and shoot, because Vatican as a city-state is governed by its own laws, and that is why you can't shoot in the city. But by and large, it is a pretty significant meeting, and many Roman Catholics in India are keenly awaiting the outcomes and of course the first visuals of this meeting that is taking place and expected to begin shortly. We are of course waiting for the visuals, but by and large today is of course a hectic day in terms of the start of the G20 Summit, the two-day G20 Summit, and the Indian Prime Minister will also be having a bilateral with the French President Emmanuel Macron, with the Indonesian leadership, and with Singapore's Prime Minister, with French President. We know the significance in terms of the in-person meeting coming in the backdrop of the AUKUS Pact that miffed France with Australia, and of course India will be keen that two of its allies, France and Australia, are able to patch up. So it's a busy day, and the start of the day is beginning with this important meeting of the Indian Prime Minister calling on the Pope at the Vatican.
Siddhant Sibal, let me just ask you, what is in the itinerary for India, and especially for Prime Minister Narendra Modi? What is the agenda that India will be pushing for at the two-day summit?
It's a packed two-day for the Indian Prime Minister here in Rome, Italy, and of course his first meeting is with the Pope when the G20 Summit begins. In fact, yesterday the US President Joe Biden called on the Pope here at the Vatican, and he of course is the second US President who called on the Pope. But largely, if we look at the agenda of the Indian side, if we talk about the multilateral agenda, that's the G20 agenda, focus will be, as we have been talking about, on COVID crisis, on its economic impact, on Afghanistan, on climate change issue. In fact, Sherpa, the Indian Sherpa to G20, Piyush Goyal, speaking to WION exclusively, talked about how India has taken a leadership role when it comes to vaccination, when it comes to making sure that there is consensus formation on COVID crisis, on climate change. In fact, what India has done this time at the G20 Summit, it has proposed mutual recognition of COVID vaccine certificate, and now this is something that will help in ease of movement of people. India has requested bilaterally many countries as well, especially with countries with huge Indian diaspora. But tomorrow we will see the continuation of the G20, but also another significant bilateral, that is with German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Now that is important and significant in terms of she being the outgoing Chancellor of Germany, and literally she has been the face of Europe for last 15 years. She has been the Chancellor since 2005, and this could be that parting meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and Angela Merkel. Both have their own, in a sense, camaraderie which we have seen in the past in terms of the conversations, in terms of the in-person meeting. Angela Merkel was in Delhi in 2019 for the biannual meeting between India and Germany. So overall, if you look at Italy and of course UK, the Indian Prime Minister is expected to have almost 20 bilaterals, including with the new leadership of Nepal, Israel and Japan.
Sidhan Sibal, thank you very much for that update. Again, if you're just joining us, you're watching WION, and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is at the Vatican City, or is at the Vatican to meet with the Pope ahead of the G20 meeting, the two-day summit, which is expected to start today and tomorrow. And yes, we will be giving you all the very latest.